Hi, I'm Rob, and in this Gems of War video, I'm going to tell you what I think are the best 5 classes in the game right now at the time of making this video. Now, if you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments. I'll maybe do a complete tier list of all of them, from the worst to best, and the reasons why. The thing is with making a video like this is there are different situations where each class will be better or worse than another one. There'll be certain times when Archer is the best class to use. And there'll be definitely times when the best one to use is Elementalist. Say you're doing a really high level of Tower of Doom where it just takes a couple of skull hits from the enemy to wipe you out. Even if you're a really high level player, then you're going to want to keep them opponents permanently frozen and entangled, which you could probably do with Elementalist by getting some 4 matches. There'll be other times when you're going to want to do something like a Slayer class team, because you're going to generate a load of skulls and you can wipe them out with that. If you've got a Phoenicia team, then Sunspear is probably the best one to use for various reasons. So many different reasons why certain other classes are the best to use in certain situations. But the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to pretend that basically all classes are about to be wiped off the face of the earth and I can only pick one. And that'll be my number one, which I'll come to in a minute. Then I'm going to imagine, okay, what if that's not there? So what would be the second one I would pick? And so on. And that's how I'm going to do it. So we'll start off with number 5. And so in 5th place, we nearly had Frostmage. Not quite. I really like it, but it's not as good to me for various reasons as Archer class. Now, Archer class, really love this. 50% start with mana. Bullseye, that is a real big deal in this class. 15% chance for skull damage to be lethal. So basically you've got a really good chance of any skull match just wiping out the opposition in one hit, no matter how much armor and life they've got. That is really cool. And I love the talents as well. Hunters mark a random enemy on 4 or 5 of a kind is really good. If you're using a dagger, you can get a little magic boost, same as if you're using a missile. Root trap, really important to entangle a troop at the beginning of the game. If you're up against a skull based team, then this guarantees you a root trap at the start, unless they've got some sort of cleanse from an empowered troop. Then you've got to think outside the box differently. But this is a green based team as well, and you can also have a nature's aura, which is a leaf storm, which is green at the start as well. If you don't fancy that, you can have a backup, so you've got a chance to get a bandit when an ally dies. All green allies gain 5 armor, again really good. There are a lot of classes where some of the talent trees don't really flow with the way that the thing works, but this one really does. You're often going to have green using allies with this team in this class, and that gives all allies 5 armor. Dodge, 30% chance to dodge skull damage, really good. Basically a 1 in 3 chance, and on the high levels when those enemies are doing really high skull damage, you've got a 1 in 3 chance basically of not taking any damage whatsoever. And this one will be dependent upon what you're doing in the game, but a really good talent. 50% start can be the difference between winning and losing so many different times. And again, that root trap, really nice to have that like empowerment from the start. Get the entangle on the first troop can save your bacon more times than not. So Archer class slips into 5th. Was pretty tight between that and other stuff like Frostmage, but hey, different things for different situations, and Frostmage just about got edged out there. So 5th place for Archer class. In 4th place we have a tight call. I'm going to have Sunspear in 4th place. Now, this is a tight call. As I said, there are so many classes that are so close to each other and dependent upon what you're doing and who you're fighting in the game. But very similar to Slayer class, but I personally think that Sunspear edges out Slayer class, and that is for various reasons. First of all, Sunspear, you create a fast storm at the start of every turn. This is going to be red. You can go really aggressive with this team. It's really good for Phoenicia amongst others, as well as it being immune to burning and fairy fire. But the talent trees is where this really shines for me. You get to freeze someone at the start, which means you're going to stop them from getting extra turns while being immune to frozen yourself, which is really cool. Root trap, entangle the enemy at the start. Again, same as Archer class, absolutely love this. So many teams now you're up against are like skull based teams and things like that. And having them entangled at the start just gives you a few extra turns to get going, get your team set up and wipe them out before they have a chance to obliterate you with skulls. And then you have other ones here as well, which are pretty handy. And obviously the awesome one at the end, Fireblade. Deal triple skull damage to burning enemies. Get the enemy burning, get some skulls going yourself, which you're safe from because you've got Root Trap, and you can wipe out the enemies really, really quickly. So really good for skull-based teams. You can make some really powerful Explore level 12s with Sunspear. So now we come to the top 3. Now where things like Sunspear class, Slayer class, Frostmage, they could all be interchangeable. There's about probably 7 or 8 easily that could be like classed at the same kind of level, because it just depends upon what you're doing. They're really hard to separate, but something had to be 5th, something had to be 4th. But the top 3 I think are literally head and shoulders above everything else. They are just, well, not head and shoulders, but they have clear advantages which the other ones do not have. And in 3rd place is something which would have been 2nd place were it weren't for a recent addition, and that is Titan class. Absolutely fantastic class. One of the big advantages of this is all giant allies start with 50% mana. So not just a 50% start on the hero, but if you have a giant team, like with boulders in your team, things like that, a 50% start for literally the whole team. The advantage of doing this is it enables you to free up that Medal of Anu. You don't need that anymore. So you can pop in another Medal of Notia or an Orpheus medal, something like that, to give your team an extra advantage. And the talent trees in this I really like as well. Impact, really good. Inflict stun when enemies deal skull damage to me, really good for taking away those traits like Web Spinner has. He'll do that once maybe, and if you've got a shield, because you better get a barrier with this, rock solid, then that takes away Web Spinner's 3rd trait, which means it no longer does triple damage, and you can use that kind of thing on various troops at the same time. Other ones that are really handy in here as well are things like Storm Aura. Create a dust storm at the start of a battle. Brown is the colour for this class primarily, so really good for that. Rock Solid, gain a barrier when matching brown gems. Absolutely superb. Use that time and time again. Bloodthirsty, Stone Mastery, Lightning Strike, all 3 of them are useful depending upon what your aim is and what you're doing with the team. So change that as you would in general. And Fortitude, just all around absolutely superb. Immune to stun, poison, disease, deathmark, lycanthropy, and devour. So really good. There's some really good giant troops now, like Boulder, fantastic in skull-based teams. Really, really good. Love Titan class. So we come to the top 2, and the top 2 for me is basically based on if all these classes got suddenly removed from the game and I could only have 2 classes left behind, what would they be? And in 2nd place I would have Geomancer. Now the reason I love this is basically many. First of all, we have Stone Skin, reduced damage from skulls by 50%. That is really good on its own, but all construct allies start with 50% is fantastic. 50% mana start for all construct troops. That is absolutely superb. Again, that means you can have an extra Notia in there, because you don't have to bring in a Medal of Anu, because everybody's going to have a better start anyway with mana with that. And you can bring in like a Notia medal and make the team even more powerful. And construct teams as well. You can make some amazing construct teams like Charlton. Crikey, she creates so much brown in an all-construct team, you can just loop the enemy to death without them getting another turn. Makes the goblins look a bit silly sometimes for looping. It's absolutely crazy. It's cheesy and it's cheap, but it works. And if you want stuff to just work, then it can be really good. As well as that, you have Impact as well, which stuns when enemies deal skull damage to me for the same reason. That's good against your Web Spinner teams and things like that. And because it's a brown team normally with this, Hammer Mastery, really good. Again, if you're using a Mountain Crusher, something like that, absolutely fantastic. Reduce damage from skulls by 20%. The cool thing is you don't need Mana Source now in this, because you've got a 50% start anyway. You can gain 3 magic at the start of battle. Really handy if you're a newer player to the game. Still get Rock Solid, that awesome trait where you get a barrier when matching brown gems. And again, nice choices here. Stone Mastery, Arcane Surge, but Tree of Knowledge. Gain enchantment when matching green gems. Really cool. Just get this thing charged up again and just go again. And Fortitude. Immune to stun, poison, disease, deathmark, lycanthropy, and devour. I absolutely love Titan class. That was my Second favourite class in the game before Geomancer came along, but now I think Geomancer edges it. There'll be times when Titan is actually better, like when you're making a giant team, for example, then obviously Titan will be the way to go. But like I said, I'm doing this as if all classes are about to be removed from the game and I can only save 2. Which ones would I save? And if there was only 2, it would be Geomancer and the one which is placed in number 1. So what possibly could be the best class in the game according to me? But nobody's got absolutely the foggiest, no one's got the slightest idea what it could be. It's a complete mystery to absolutely everyone. No one's got the slightest clue, have they? It's like you're thinking it's going to be something like down here, aren't you? Yeah, you're not thinking it's going to be anything obvious like Elementalist. That would be way too predictable. I mean, why would it possibly be Elementalist? Because it just is. It is simply the best class in the game. Absolutely superb. You don't get a 50% start with this in its traits like the other ones, but it is still absolutely essential for certain situations. Say, for example, like I said earlier, you're doing a really, really high Tower of Doom battle, for example, where it just takes 1 or 2 hits from the enemy to just wipe you out, even if you're a really high level player. Then getting this stun, freeze, burn and entangle a random enemy when matching 4 or more gems is utterly essential. That is such a powerful third trait, it is mind-boggling. I remember when this was first mentioned, before it even came out, everybody was convinced this would be nerfed before it even came out because it sounded so ridiculously powerful. And it is ridiculously powerful, but it is balanced by other things in the class to me. There's no 50% start with this. You can get a 50% start with elementals with the Mirage Queen, obviously, but not within the actual class and talent trees itself. These are okay. Impact still really good. Insulated still really good. Stone Circle not too shabby, Sherlock. Storm Aura can be handy. Rock Solid still found absolutely superb. Gain a barrier when matching brown gems. Or Deluge. Submerge a random ally on 4 or 5 gem matches. Can be really useful against the Queen Beatrix Gob Truffle teams. The ones that do that damage to all. You can't get hit by damage to all if you are submerged. Stone Mastery, Water Mastery and Lightning Strike all very good dependent upon the situation. As are these 3. But it's that third trait which absolutely makes this. It absolutely is superb. Stun, freeze, burn and entangle a random enemy when matching 4 or more gems. Also a go-to class for your Guild Wars defences as well. You rarely see a Guild Wars defence now that's not an Elementalist class at the high levels. It's just one of the things to go for, because as soon as the enemy starts getting 4 matches, you're going to start getting those burn, freeze, stuns and entangles on your team, and it can be a absolute pain, but it's really good to attack with at the same time. And let me know what you think in the comments. What is your favourite class? And normally it's going to be a favourite class because of a particular team. As I said at the beginning, each class is equal to its own, sometimes depending upon what you're doing in the game and who you are fighting. It is all dependent upon certain things. Like Thief class didn't even get a mention, but there's some times where Thief class is going to be absolutely superb. Start battles with 50% mana, deal damage to the last enemy on 4 or 5 gem matches. You can be stealthy in this so you can't be targeted. Dodge, it can be an absolute pain. Rising Shadows, 7% chance to assassinate the last enemy when another enemy dies. Really, really good, but I could only pick 5, so that was the 5 that I picked. As I said at the start, if you want me to do a video on all the classes, let me know and I will get it done. But there's this video. If you enjoyed it, found it useful or helpful, be really cool if you hit that like and subscribe button. But thanks for watching and I'll catch you again next time. Bye for now.